Finally, 343 Industries and Microsoft Game Studios have given what I'd presume is the final big showcase reveal for Halo Infinite, until it undoubtedly gets delayed until 2022.
Motherfucker!
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's your pal Nomz here, and today we're gonna go take a deep dive into Halo Infinite's E3 2021 showcase reveal. It's been 3 long years since we got the announcement for Infinite, and finally we have a pretty clear picture of what the game is going to play and feel like. So let's start from the beginning. The showcase opens up with the prophet of MILFs, Bonnie Ross, longtime executive at 343 Industries, and OG Joseph fucking Staten, Halo creative legend and mastermind behind Halo CE, Halo 2, and the best damn Halo game ever released, Halo 3 ODST, fight me bitches. Anyway, Joseph and Bonnie gave us a small glimpse into more of Halo Infinite's campaign, though admittedly aside from the ending cutscene, there wasn't much we didn't already know. It was mainly to give us a look at the world they've created, that being Zeta Halo, and I'd imagined this was in part to counteract the criticism they received from stupidly releasing a subpar render of last year's demo. They opened up by giving us a bird's eye landscape shot of what looks to be a human settlement of scattered survivors on the ring, after the big event that happens prior to the beginning of Halo Infinite's campaign. From the trailer, the event is referred to as the Day We Lost. And in the 2020 demo, Escharum, presumably the main antagonist of Infinite's campaign, tells us that he was behind decimating humanity's forces and hunting them down on the Halo ring. We see a vast landscape shot of Zeta Halo as the camera rises. We see the human settlement extends from the lower portion of the ring to a higher plateau where Marines are popping smoke, signaling for evac, one would assume. And in the distance, we see a structure that I'd imagine is native to the ring itself that looks very intriguing and possibly is mentioned in one of the Forerunner books from Halo's EU. Perhaps some of the lore fanatics can fill in that blank. I only ever read the first book of the Forerunner trilogy, and that was back in 2012. While this is happening, Joe Staten describes the kind of vibe we can expect from the ring itself. A science fiction, mystery and wonder environment, and based on Halo 2 and Halo 3 ODST, I think it's safe to say Joe Staten knows a thing or two about injecting proper Halo atmosphere into both the story and world. We're just missing another certain other OG from the glory days to really make the dream team complete. However, if anyone was going to be responsible for the musical overtones for Halo Infinite's campaign, I'm glad it's Gareth Coker. I can think of no one better to replace Marty. Seriously, play the Ori games. He's one of the best composers in the industry right now. And not to mention the tracks they've already released from Gareth Coker have certainly inspired my confidence. I released a video about Halo Infinite last year. I go into more depth as to my feelings on the campaign and its design choices in that video, so maybe check it out once you're done here. But moving on with this showcase, the landscape shot concludes with a Pelican arriving, and we can bet our asses that the Master Chief and Brohammer are coming to the rescue and rallying the Marines. One of the reasons I'm excited for this campaign is because its premise is very reminiscent of Combat Evolved, but with a new story, updated gameplay, and an actual open world, which Halo 3 ODST proved can be executed very well in a Halo game. Then it cuts to Master Chief in what I'm willing to bet is the first mission of the campaign, and also the epilogue to the Discover Hope trailer from 2019. Remember, 343 Industries themselves revealed that Discover Hope was the first cutscene of the game, the opener if you will. Master Chief gets discovered, gets revived, and then the ship gets attacked by an EMP burst of some kind that was either a banished weapon or what I initially thought was a Guardian. And the trailer ends with Chief preparing to venture out into space. In this reveal, we see him navigating derelict space debris of a damaged UNSC ship, and he's looking to find something on board. And I really liked the stylistic choice of this cutscene because it certainly harkened back to the Halo 4 announcement trailer back in 2011, where Master Chief bursts out of his cryopod, collects Cortana, and thruster packs his way out of the exploding ship forward onto Dawn, while it's approaching Requiem. And we see Chief doing the same thing here in this cutscene. He even finds a pistol floating about and he uses it to breach deeper into the ship. He also finds numerous floating dead Marines, adding to the feel of tragedy and loss and hopelessness to the cutscene, which, based on everything we've seen, is exactly what 343 wants us to feel, that this is an unsurvivable, bleak, hopeless situation for humanity. And much like the Discover Hope trailer from 2019 suggests, that all changes once the Master Chief returns. The cutscene ends with Chief finding a Cortana lookalike of some kind, and I'm just gonna let this play. Better for you to hear it than to listen to me narrate it.
What happened? Where is Cortana?
The rogue AI known as Cortana is gone. She's been deleted.
How? By you?
Of course not. Did you hit your head or something? Don't you remember? my instructions were to enter this installation, imitate Cortana, and lock her down for retrieval. Yours were to take her back to the Infinity for deletion. So if it wasn't you... Okay then. There's something else. On successful deployment, my deletion routine was supposed to complete. Still here.
Good.
Good.
Something stopped your deletion. We need to find out why.
But this wasn't the mission.
The missions changed. They always do.
Are you sure?
Okay, so here's the part that's got a lot of us puzzled. Who is this AI? Is she Cortana? Is she a fragment of Cortana, perhaps? Is it a new Cortana, like Cortana 2.0 or something? Or is it the same model with the same capabilities, but just a blank slate of her original neural matrix from Dr. Halsey? Like the real Cortana mentioned back in Halo 4.
They'll pair you with another AI. Maybe even another Cortana model if Halsey lets them.
That's not going to happen.
It won't be me. You know that, right?
Regardless, it seems the purpose for going to Zeta Halo was initially to capture the rogue Cortana and delete her, but as the new AI suggests, someone got to her first. She's been deleted apparently, and Master Chief has no memory of it, so it wasn't him. But the AI says her protocol was that she would delete as well upon successful completion of the mission. But she's still aboard the derelict ship, which I think is safe to say is the UNSC Infinity, since Master Chief was meant to bring Cortana back to the Infinity. Not to mention last year's trailer suggested Infinity was destroyed. But Jesus, talk about a messy opening to the story. So we're left with all of these questions. Who is this AI? Is she linked to the original Cortana? Where the fuck was Chief during all of this? Presumably unconscious, but everyone seems to think he should know what's going on, so does he have amnesia? And if this AI is still alive, does this mean the rogue Cortana is still alive, since the new AI was meant to delete along with Cortana upon completion of the mission? And did this happen on the surface of the ring, since the AI talks about being sent to the installation to find Cortana, or did it happen in outer space? I'm guessing it happened in space, since Chief was floating in space.
I have so many questions!
I hope this gets explained sooner or later because it's giving me an aneurysm. Regardless, we now know that Chief won't be alone on this journey. He will have an AI accompany him, and it will most likely be a brand new Cortana or an untainted fragment of the original. Weird that she wasn't in the gameplay demo last year, but I suppose that was the last surprise, and this pretty much just confirms that 343's gone through leaps and bounds to scratch Halo 5's story and Cortana's villain turn off the page as quickly as possible to place the pieces back on the board where they started in the combat evolved position to give fans a return to form with a new story while simultaneously being both a reboot and a sequel. And while I'm excited for what comes next, I can imagine how far they had to stretch logic to retcon Brian Reed's abortion back in 2015. Oh well, I guess time will tell. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I for one have some renewed excitement in what's to come, but a heap of skepticism to go along with it. Anyway, now we finally move on to the multiplayer reveal. And honestly, watching that reveal felt like having an IV drip of Viagra inserted straight into my ball sack. Not without a few grievances, mind you, but damn dude, check it out. The guns, the maps, the vehicles, the environmental mechanics, god damn. The only major downer for me was the beginning of the trailer and that obnoxious Spartan commander who was barking orders. Like, have 343 learned nothing from Commander Palmer? But as for the rest of the trailer, we see the base movement mechanics of sprint, clamber, and slide utilized quite well, I thought. I understand that may upset some people. I'm fully aware as to why many Halo fans are not fond of sprint. Personally, I never minded sprint. Sure, it's a sidestep from Combat Evolved's core move and shoot gameplay, but I enjoy it as a mechanic nonetheless, and the layer of skill it brings, traversing the maps as quickly and as safely as possible while monitoring your minimap, knowing when and when not to use sprint based on your knowledge of the maps, and your judgment of the combat scenario taking place. And obviously clamber I've always enjoyed. I don't think it's too disruptive on the gameplay, and it's certainly convenient for navigation. And finally, let's talk about slide. I personally like it as a mechanic. It's a mechanic that's obviously used for evasion or sliding to pick up a weapon or equipment on certain portions of the map in this case. But unlike thruster pack, slide, I'd imagine, requires you to have some momentum in order for you to initiate the mechanic and dodge the enemy fire or ordnance that's coming your way. Another reason why I like slide is is that unlike Sprint, it doesn't take away your ability to shoot. And again, unlike Thruster Pack, Spartan Charge, or Ground Pound, I don't see many players exploiting this to an obnoxious degree. I think it's tame enough that it'll fit perfectly fine within the gameplay of Halo Infinite. One of the biggest praises I initially gave the gameplay back in 2020 was the fact that they dialed back the movement abilities without entirely getting rid of them. It showed me that 343 was willing to moderate the game in order to make it more balanced. I'm a huge fan of moderation, and by the looks of things, that's exactly what 343 did. Now let's talk about the guns. I don't know why they decided to show off the Bulldog of all fucking things. The community, myself included, really doesn't like it. It's not very distinguished in the sandbox as a weapon, unlike the Shell Reload Pump Action Classic Shotgun, which looked and felt way more like a Halo gun than this fucking thing does. I mean, it's the goddamn EVA 8 shotgun from Titanfall. It's a carbon copy. There's nothing unique about it. In fact, it's the polar opposite of unique. Seriously, sack that gun designer. She doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Send them to Respawn Entertainment where they fucking belong. But moving on, like I said, this is only a 2-minute showcase, but it certainly leaves an impression. It shows off that indoor UNSC weaponry facility we saw brief screenshots from in 343's press releases towards the end of 2020. We get an up-close look at the Spartan armor, and thankfully the armor is popping like it should thanks to the return of the black undersuits. We see a player reach for one of those tactical rifles from a placement on the map that was used in last year's demo, and it's either a radar ability or grenade that a player throws across the map to see where their wounded opponent is hiding from behind a wall of cover. He then lobs the grenade into the room with precision and kills his opponent. That's good stuff. We then see a sniper-wielding player run for the grapple hook placed on the map, and he uses it to grapple straight to the ceiling, where he was able to gain enough elevation to get a no-scope from across the map, and hit a perfectly timed back pummel one-hit kill when he returns to the ground. He then picks up what I assume is a banished weapon. It looks like it's a charge shot, purple plasma homing railgun. Now, the UNSC sniper and this new banished weapon look dynamite, I'm not gonna lie. But the purple gun's homing ability looks like it may be annoying to play against. Essentially a hand-holding weapon that takes any accuracy and skill out of the gameplay. I like the way it looks, but mechanically not so much. Also, 3 other grievances I have. One's a small nitpick. The damn grenade trail. I was never a fan of it. It's not the end of the world by any means, but I really wish they took it out. 2, it looks like grenades, once again, are pinballs. Meaning you can Hail Mary someone who should be on an impossible angle by bouncing the nade off a million different surfaces, killing them or getting killed in very obnoxious ways. And 3, the hit marker mechanic returns. And I'm in agreement with the community about this, that it should be gone because, well, for starters, that radar equipment 343 decided to show off can be somewhat classified as redundant if you can just throw a grenade around the corner and manage to hit a player lying in wait. The hit marker mechanic has the potential to ruin the element of surprise and nullify the uniqueness of the new radar sandbox element and other sandbox elements as well. We then cut to what looks like a UNSC stronghold base on Zeta Halo, and we see the effective combo of Sprint with the gravity hammer, something I've always enjoyed from Sprint, by the way. I personally really like using the energy sword and the gravity hammer with Sprint. It makes me feel like I'm not a sitting duck, unlike in Halo 3. And we then get to see the use of another ability. Someone fires a plasma pistol charge shot and it's timed and repelled by some sort of wrist gauntlet, which very much reminded me of the hard light shield from Halo 4, which, for those of you who didn't know, had this very same mechanic. And it could even absorb a fully charged plasma pistol shot. Although unlike the hard light shield, this wrist gauntlet seems to give you a very limited amount of protection. The plasma bolt backfires on the player who fired it, and then we get to see the return of Old Glory, the sexy as fuck classic battle rifle, return to Halo with a headshot to win the encounter. We then see a player hunker down in the one-way shield exhibited in the original demo for Infinite. Attacking the shield from the outside proved pointless, but then we see an excellently placed sticky grenade on a player who was using the grapple hook that blows off both the players behind the shield where they were vulnerable. I really do like the fact that this showcase isn't just showing off these ability strengths, but also their weaknesses too. Then it cuts to probably my favorite map of the entire showcase, a large desert environment with Zeta Halo ring structures littered throughout, and a seemingly endless horizon that hopefully doesn't have invisible walls or kill timers, but instead the guns from Snowbound to kill players breaking the boundaries. And can I just say, I'm so fucking glad that 343 has actually made some new maps this time around, because Guardians felt like the maps were, for the most part just retreads or variations of each other. I did like Regret and Empire, but otherwise the maps felt very uninspired, and at least here these maps look like they're from a Halo game, for the most part anyway. As the showcase goes on, we see more use of the grapple hook. This time it was used to retrieve a banished weapon lying on the ground called the skewer. It almost looks like a rocket launcher harpoon gun. And then we see a goddamn grapple jack on a passing UNSC Wasp. I'm glad to finally see the use of manned human faction aerial vehicles once again. About time they made a return. Last time was in fucking Halo Reach. That is if you don't count Halo 5 Warzone. Then it cuts to a capture the flag match on a new map that looks to be inspired by both Timberland from Combat Evolved and Valhalla from Halo 3. It takes place in a valley on the Halo ring with Combat Evolved ring structures on either side, and we see the map makes use of several heavy-duty vehicles, including UNSC Wasps, the Scorpion tank, and the returning newly designed Banished Chopper and Ghost vehicles. It's great to see both of these vehicles make a return. Also, we see launch pads for player elevation and transportation across the map. Nice, but why not just make them gravity lifts? They look way more Halo-esque. But now we've got to come to something controversial. Ordnance drops. We see a new vehicle injected into the map while the match is going on via a UNSC Pelican. Okay, where to begin? Firstly, the Banished Banshee design looks fucking dope. Secondly, it's a bit of a nitpick, but why is a Pelican dropping off a Banished vehicle? Shouldn't it be a Banished Phantom delivering a Banished Banshee? I'm just trying to keep the factions consistent here. And finally, Ordnance drops in Halo. This is reminiscent of Halo 4's Infinity multiplayer. Now, while it's true the Ordnance mechanics jaded people at the time of Halo 4's launch, back in 2012, the Infinity-style multiplayer has received a warm reception in the years since, and I personally have always enjoyed Halo 4's multiplayer. However, the problem Halo 4 made was tying Ordnance to all of its gameplay modes, meaning players were stuck with it no matter what mode they decided to play. Since we saw a Pelican fly into the match to deliver the Ordnance, I'd imagine it's exclusive to BTB, or hopefully even better, a variation of BTB, where players can choose if they want to play regular Big Team Battle or Infinity BTB. Also, hopefully the Ordnance isn't RNG, removing the possibility of injecting an arena sandbox element that doesn't belong in that particular arena. Every Ordnance choice should be tailored for that specific map, and having faith that 343 learned from Halo 4, I don't think this mechanic will be tied to every mode. Then it cuts to a capture the flag sequence where player lands on the base and takes the flag from the enemy team, but you'll notice he's no longer holding the flag with one hand with a pistol in the other, meaning he's completely vulnerable. Personally, I preferred when you could shoot with the flag but not sprint. Here it looks like he's sprinting but can't shoot. Baffling choice, but okay. I think I'm fine either way with it, but the idea behind capture the flag is that the flag hinders you in one way or another, so either you can't shoot or you can't move fast, hence why the flag carrier needs protection. In this showcase, you can't shoot, but the flag doesn't look to slow you down either, which is odd. Maybe it's not actually sprinting in the first person view. Maybe that's just how it looks from the third person viewpoint, but oh well. Now before I move on, I just want to let this part play because it gave me a real chuckle when I first watched it.
Please call us at your earliest convenience.
The next map we see looks to be reminiscent of the outskirts of New Mombasa. I got a very Halo 2-esque vibe from it. Clearly a deserted human city, and we can even see a Master Chief mural, which I thought was a nice touch. Though it's unclear if this is taking place on Earth, most likely yes, and we get to see an oddball match taking place. And in one of the funniest parts of the entire reveal, a player uses the oddball to slap the shit out of another player, sending them flying across the arena. We also see a player toss what looks to be a proximity mine of some kind, or maybe it's some C4. Alls I know, it attaches itself to the ground and doesn't blow up. And thank holy fuck, we get the return of the classic Spanker rocket launcher.
And she's sweet.
Yes! Finally, the last map we see looks to be taking place in some sort of launch facility or reactor facility with a winding ramp providing some verticality to the map. And we see the new pistol in action along with some dope-ass samurai Spartan armor. And finally, we see the return of one of the most cherished parts of Combat Evolved multiplayer, the use of grenades to move around sandbox elements across the map. Oh damn, look at that perfectly placed grenade toss. Look at that sweet, sweet energy sword flying through the air, perfectly placed for the kill. Boom! And then it cuts to the closing screen. Halo Infinite multiplayer, free to play. Fuck Yes. Like I said, it's a brief showcase, but there's plenty to digest. Mostly positives as opposed to negatives. I'm hoping they can still iron out some of my more minor grievances before the game launches. But otherwise, that showcase was fucking unreal. Halo Infinite looks fun as hell to play, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into it. And the fact that it's the first Halo game to have free-to-play multiplayer for both Xbox and PC means the population is going to be massive and sustainable long-term. And the fact that both platforms are going to get the entire Halo Infinite experience, both campaign and multiplayer, free with Game Pass is almost too good to be true. So while I'm excited and optimistic for this game, I'm going to try my best to temper my expectations because as the industry has shown us, when it comes to video games, 9 times out of 10, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Anyway, thanks guys for taking the time to check out my video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below and do be sure to browse the channel for other videos as well. Special thanks to my patrons for all of your contributions and support. I really appreciate it. And there's plenty more videos on the way, so keep an eye out. Special thanks to a British Potato for helping me edit the audio for this video. You can check out his channel. I've left the link in the description below. And here's one more thank you for staying till the end of the video. You are a legend, and I'll see you next time.